Hi everyone and welcome to today's morning report on Wednesday the 8th of April with me, Rich Payne, Market Analyst at Handtech Markets. The European trading session has got off to a fairly mixed start actually, and that came on the back of a disappointing close actually we saw on Wall Street last night, falling away into the close. With the S&P 500 just slightly down at 0.2%. And then overnight we actually had the Bank of Japan standing pat on monetary policy, keeping intact the 80 trillion yen per year target of quantitative easing, and also continues to blame low inflation on the oil prices that had fallen away in the past few months. But that impacted on the Asian trading with just slightly positively actually, just slight decline on the dollar yen trade, but the Asian markets were slightly higher overall. Now, the big news that we've had in the European session is that the merger between Shell and BG Group, and that's significantly added to the share price of BG Group, and around about 40 pips that's added to the FTSE today. FTSE is just slightly higher, DAX slightly lower, so fairly mixed trading on the equity markets. But what the interesting thing is, I think you'll find, is that the currency markets are fairly much consolidating now. This is the dollar index, and we've seen the dollar index just had this sharp decline following on from the payrolls. Then you had a rally in the last couple of days following on from the payrolls, and now today, once again, you're seeing a bit of a correction again. So this consolidation that we're seeing on the dollar is playing out across the forex majors, and I'll talk you through all of them in a minute. But they're all pretty much range bound at the moment. But interestingly, you'll see that this dollar index is now seeing the 21-day moving average roll over and maybe even forming that as the basis of resistance. So that is an interesting thing that I think I'm going to have to keep an eye on in the coming days. Now, this is the dollar index on an hourly chart, and you can certainly see that rally has rolled over and beginning to fall away again. But interesting that we're seeing that move. Now, the other interesting thing is the oil price. We've seen this WTI come up to retest that key high around 54, just come off a little bit today on the resistance around that 54 level, but it certainly seems as though it's looking to test that move. Now, the key thing will be whether this is ultimately the bulls in control and you're going to be testing that resistance, or whether it's going to be just a continuation of this range play that we've seen over the past few months. So an important time for the oil price, but what that is slightly lower today. So what are we looking out for today? Well, we've got the Fed meeting minutes this evening, and the key that Fed meeting minutes is the key factor that we need to look out for today. But before that, we've got the Eurozone retail sales data. It's actually, look at this, it's actually picked up in the last couple of months. Retail sales in the Eurozone, 3.7% year on year growth for the last month. It's expected to come in again quite strongly at 3%. So that would be another a third month where it's pretty strong. So those retail sales certainly have picked up in the first part of this year. Then into the afternoon, we've only really got the US oil stocks. Oil stocks are due to come in at 3.4 million barrels, so that would be a 13th week in a row in positive territory in terms of the inventory. So that inventory continues to climb on the oil stocks. No real sign of a decline in any supplies yet in the US. But then, obviously, this evening, the FOMC minutes is the big factor that we need to be looking out for. We had a slightly dovish statement from Yellen last time out, and that obviously had a big impact on the forex markets across the board, pretty much, and they've still struggled to pretty much get a grip to any sort of direction in the time since then. But what we're looking out for this evening, I think, is any real hints of any hawkishness from any members that would sort of lead to suggest that perhaps people are moving towards a more hawkish stance. Certainly in the speeches of some of the members since the FOMC meeting, it would suggest that some members are leaning towards more hawkishly, but the statement currently remains fairly dovish, and certainly Janet Yellen's outlook is still also fairly dovish. So it will be an interesting set of minutes, and that will have an impact certainly across the dollar tonight. So that takes me to my chart of the day, which is the euro yen. Now, euro yen is one of these forex majors. This is forex crosses. This is across the dollar. There's been a consolidation, but you can see also across the euro yen as well. There's no real direction in the past few weeks. Really, it's basically flattening off. You can argue that. You've now broken this downtrend by this consolidation, and the momentum indicators are becoming increasingly neutral. The RSI up at 47, no real drive to turn that positive. MACD lines still just drifting back towards neutral. Stochastics not really that positive either. So across the board on the momentum indicators, we're seeing that, and you're also seeing resistance coming underneath this 132 overhead resistance. Failing to really get above that. We've seen some peaks, 131.50, seen that a couple of times coming in, on Monday we saw the rally high at 131.30, so that is still clearly a big resistance area. 131.50 towards 132 is big resistance on euro yen. In terms of the hourly chart, you can see that also I've drawn in here this blue line, which I see as a fairly important pivot level actually near term. That blue line comes in at 130.50, and we've just dipped below that, back below that. See how many times this has been used as a pivot, both higher and lower, being as resistance and then subsequently support, numerous occasions in the past few weeks. And just in the last day or so, it had become supportive and is now turned, and you're back below it, so it becomes resistance again. So that is your first real line of resistance, I suppose you'd argue. And then you've got a couple of rally highs, 131 figure, and then up towards that 131.30 level. But certainly it looks like on the near-term hourly chart, there is still this sort of element of consolidation, really. So you'd say that any time you really, well, I mean, I was going to say anytime you get towards overbought, but then you've still got this sort of couple of days worth of rally that you get and a couple of days worth of correction. So you could potentially see now this sequence of lower highs and lower lows continue to drag the euro yen lower, maybe with the RSI up around midpoint as well. At the moment, you can see further weakness potentially in this chart, but it certainly looks at the moment as though it's just beginning to gain more of a corrective outlook. You could see it back towards the lows of this range between 128.50 and 129 seems to be a bit of a support band there. So you could see a drift back towards there in the coming day or so. But it certainly looks as though euro yen is a little bit corrective, and certainly that's taken on that configuration in the past day or so. But certainly, as I said, on the daily chart, very much range bound still. Anyway, I wish you good luck in your trading on euro yen, and I will speak to you later. Thank you.